We are ready to party.
They're classy too, man. I can wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
Hey, how good are these to-go boxes?
Our to-go boxes, they're not good. They're f***ing amazing. How did we get started here at Albemarle Paper? Well, late 2008, my cousin John and I started this paper company, and we got all sorts of different products.
Hey, Nick, come on, man. Let's get to work.
You got cleaning products, too? You got a party this weekend? We got your back. Anything you need here at APS. Plates, napkins, silverware, table covers. We got everything covered, right, boys? What other items do we carry? Paper towels? I got it. Toilet paper? I got it. Gloves? We got you. Pizza boxes? You're probably wondering, where are we? Where's Albemarle Paper? Don't you worry about that. We got you. I'll bring the product to your door. See you guys.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the MLS Corner. My boys are here. It is Tuesday night, the best corner in all of MLS. I am excited to be here. We're showing up this first half, unlike Charlotte. Today with me, I got Lee from CLTFC Fan TV. Lee, my man, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here. Excited to be here. And I've got none other than the man, Mr. Brian. How are you today, bro?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good tonight, y'all. A bunch of new news came out, so I'm excited to get into it and talk about it.
Me too. I'm glad none of y'all brought up yesterday. So
yeah.
I was expecting someone to give me, huh?
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just about Liverpool, Man U, bro.
Yeah, about the relegation battle he's talking about.
Oh, I don't worry about those lower level teams, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
What's up, Yeti
That's
Clan?
everybody who's commenting. Yeti Clan, appreciate you.
Liverpool are doing worse than Chelsea, right?
Huh?
I said Liverpool are doing worse than Chelsea right now.
I mean, we have one loss. So
They're doing worse than Brighton, I think. I don't know.
You got 116.
Yeah.
You're sitting at 16. One loss, no wins.
I set myself up for this.
Yeah. You could have totally passed it on by.
Yeah.
You wanted to get ripped up, dude.
Yeah.
I did. I was like, you know what? The boys are being good today. Like,
He's conditioned. He's conditioned, man. He's not used to it.
Yeah, I was ready for all the stick, and so.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, good. It's just a slip up on your part, man.
It is, bro.
That was a Stevie G thing.
I know. It would suck to be a Liverpool and Man U fan right now. And you know, the suckiest part was when we lost 5-0 and they lost 4-0. Imagine going to bed with your team's 9-0. That sucks. But anyways, we're here to talk Charlotte FC. And we are here to talk about the good, the bad, and what we can expect. So let's definitely start with the bad. You know, Charlotte FC took a very, very brutal loss to Orlando City this weekend. 2-1, the final result. You know, Orlando went up by a goal by Kara and Charlotte was able to tie it up with Mackenzie Gaines' first goal for the club and Yazviak's very first assist for the club. Unfortunately, the team that second goal was definitely Anton Walks definitely had a lot to do with Orlando scoring. I can't even get my words out today. The final score ends 2-1-0. A very, very slow start the first half. I feel like the second half we played really, really well. And then it was just overall just a very disappointing game in terms of the results. I'll start off with you, Brian. Go ahead, my man.
Yeah. 2-1-0 result.
Lee, the nil was the fans because we went home with nil. Right? That's where the nil was.
Right, it was 2-1-0, yeah.
So it was 2-1-0. And then we're getting to the 2 and the 1.
Yeah.
think a lot of it, I mean, comes down to, for me, how we came out in the first half. I really feel like at home, the expectation should be, and generally what has happened, and especially our wins, has been that we've come out and set a tone, a style of play, an aggressive possession style where we are on the front foot. We're setting the tempo. We're deciding how the game is going to be played. And whenever we lose at home, it's generally because that doesn't occur in the first half. And so I feel like going into halftime 0-0 is when it started to get worrying for me. And then just like, hey, we're not really setting the tone against a team that pretty much wants to just go up 1-0 and then hold on to it. And so I feel like we had an opportunity there to try to establish our own tempo for that result not to happen. It ended up happening. Then we decided to kind of catch fire a little bit in terms of like, okay, now we're going to be aggressive. So I think that's the issue, is like, I don't mind that on the road as much, but like when we go 1-0 down and then we decide to try to go for it, is like at home, I think that's just a massive issue. And I think that's kind of what I saw in this game a little bit. It was like, it took us to go down at home before we decided to really go for it. And then at that point, once it's 1-1, I'm fine with them pushing way high up and just going for it because it's home. They've got to get the win. They're treating it like a cup final. You go for broke. And so while Walks also made, a pretty decent error there, I think at that point you're also like, you're going for it regardless, and you're going to give that space in behind for those kind of situations to come up. But I think the tone needed to be set in the first half. At least that was my impression.
100%. And I think, and I'll ask you this question, Lee. Obviously, you've heard a team that wins, you should play again. But it's feeling like when Charlotte repeat the 11, the team feels a little bit slow, I mean, we definitely saw that too. Was it a mistake maybe not to make some changes? I mean, we saw, let's say, midfield three of Brandt, Quinn, and Jones. And I mean, Jones and all of them didn't look that great that first half especially.
Yeah, I mean, to the teams, right? They flew to LA, right? Flew back to New York. They flew back to Charlotte, right? All within a week, basically. So, I mean, that could have something to do with it. I don't know, man. It's like now we've lost 2 games on the trot at home, right? Normally we feel confident going in to Charlotte and knowing that the boys are going to show up. But like Brian said, man, like the first half, like before it was like first half we were always kind of intense, and then the second half we would die off. It's sort of done a complete opposite, especially like since the New York game, at least, right? Because the New York game for sure, man, that first half, man, I'm surprised we didn't get our asses whooped, to be honest with you. We just luckily got those 3 points. But yeah, I mean, there was no intensity, right? I mean, what are we going to do? We've only got like 3 or 4 midfielders to start, right? And it's just a matter of who starts, right? Bender or Jones, basically. And then that determines on how we're going to line up. I mean, Brandt seems to be a solid starter, right? And then obviously
Right.
Quinn seems to be in.
And I mean, as games progress too, and you guys can put your thoughts also, and I want to hear from people's thoughts in the comments as well. Like, I mean, like we see less and less of Jordi Alcivar, right? It feels like he's going to get an opportunity and then he doesn't. And I mean, if he's not getting an opportunity now, when we have very, very limited options in that midfield, what's it gonna take, right? Because I mean, Nuno is gonna be coming in soon, so we'll rely on him for that creative role for the most part now. Jonathan makes a great point as well. I mean, we don't see Chris Hagar, right? A guy I think who should get an opportunity as well. So I just want your thoughts on that, specifically Jordi Alcivar, because I mean, one of the things that we've noticed and is very evident is just the lack of creativity.
Oh, 100%. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, if we've got 2 D1 college kids who are earning all the minutes over Alcivar, I think at this point something's happening either in training or something is missing along the line into why like Lattanzio's not finding the trust in him at this point. And I think whether or not it's on him or they're just looking for a change, I mean, more will be revealed as the window progresses. But I mean, like you said, there's only going to be more reinforcements that come in. And so if he can't find the minutes now, I mean, he's really going to have to dig deep and figure out how to make himself, a player on this team. And so I feel like we're missing that creativity. And but if he's also not willing, I mean, do we want somebody who is not showing up to then try to find that creative role? I don't know. So I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but in terms of like, I mean, but I would imagine that's the one, because Lattanzio seems to really care about how they show up in training, right? I think that's seems to be the one big change that has happened since between Mar and Lattanzio is like who's showing up in training, who's willing to play at this more intense level, and then those are the people who are going to get minutes, you know.
Yeah.
So
And then like what Patrick's saying, like I think especially LA, he didn't look great. But prior to that, the home game we had, who did we beat at home last? I can't remember now. But I think
DC.
Yeah, it was DC.
Yeah, home.
When Alcivar came in, he looked really, really good. So I mean, the stints that we're getting, and I hear what you say about that, but like, is it really beneficial to be putting in 2 rookies consistently when you have a player that you've spent, who's your young DP, should be also be getting minutes, right, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the biggest issue is like the season's finally taking a toll on all of us, right? I mean, from us that we've been doing this, right? We're like, man, we're kind of looking forward to the season be over and kind of recharge and kind of keep going. And then the players, there's no depth. Right. I mean, it consistently, you can pretty much name the starting 11. Right. And we just have no depth. And, you know, with injuries and that sort of thing, we're even more diluted with players. So it's like, what do we do? Right. These guys are out here burning it up, traveling across the States. I mean, it's hot as hell out there. I mean, shit, I just stand there and I'm sweating balls. Right. So it's like, just imagine what it's going to be like to play that week in, week out as well. So it's, I think there's a lot of variables.
I would agree with you on the most part in terms of, I think we have enough depth up top. We have a good amount in our back line because you're seeing it, right? I mean, Jan Sobocinski has come in and he's looked the part, a player that can play in MLS. On the bench this weekend, we had Malanda, who, you know, is based on what Lattanzio said a couple weeks ago, was the player that he's ready to be slotted in if he needs to be. Right?
Yeah, so somebody made a comment though earlier about Walks, like he's just not the same without Guzman in there, right? And it's, I mean, that's a big hit for us. It seems like that's kind of when our form went south too, right? It's
it's a great point actually. So, but in terms of player availability, right? And then if you look up at our forward options, you know, we had Shinyashiki come off, not Shinyashiki. We had Yazviak come off the bench. We had Reina come off the bench. We didn't even use Shinyashiki. And we also didn't use Daniel Rios. You know, we haven't seen Rios in a while as well. So, right, I think the biggest area of opportunity has to be that midfield role. But I don't think that Lattanzio has maximized the players that he's had. Right. I mean, I think you can tell kind of the biotype of player that Lattanzio wants, and based on what Brian said, he wants somebody who's a hard worker, right? You know, that's bringing a lot of intensity, and you get that with guys like Brant, Quinn, and Ben to a degree, but you're missing out on that creativity, which is what is
really been missing out on that all season. Right, we really have not had that creative midfielder at all. Right, I mean, Bronico's a workhorse, and he's digging in, doing what he has to do, but I mean. The creative part, man, it really hasn't been there. I mean, at all. I mean, it just seems like, you know, once we get into the forward part of the pitch or the final third, right, we just sort of run out of ideas and we've got nothing to do. Like, and it's just kind of a hit and hope.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe Alcivar is going through a similar, also, like just traveling to a new place, new country, similar to like, because I feel like Camille, the last 2 times he's come off the bench, has looked like way sharper than when he's been kind of put into the starting role. Like the last 2 times he's come in as a sub, I mean, and especially even in Orlando, like he looked like probably our most lively player once he'd come on, or like at least one of them. And I'm wondering if maybe a lot of that is just, I mean, he had an injury as well before coming into the season. And so I'd imagine the fitness issue has been something that he's been kind of like progressing throughout his time. But I'm wondering if maybe both of them, Alcivar and Camille, also to some extent are dealing with just like figuring out moving to a new country and moving to a new place, and that actually just taking a bigger toll on them than maybe it it's seen, on the surface from fans and stuff. That's just the only other thing I can really think of at this point, because
I don't know. I feel like it's been long enough, right? I mean, it's not like they just got here a month ago, right? I feel they've been here.
Other players have adapted too,
Yeah, I think every player is going to be a little different, right? Some players just get, maybe homesick, or maybe it might be Alcivar's first time. Camille, I would expect, because he moved to England, right? So he already has kind of like made that culture change and culture. I don't know if this is Alcivar's first time,
It is.
And so I would expect that potentially to have taken a little bit long, because that happens. Sometimes it takes. You see it in the Premier League. Really big time players have that trouble adapting, going from like Portugal to England and things like that. So, obviously it's not ideal, and they should be able to make that change. And obviously, I think they should have the staff there to help the players make that adjustment. But that's just the only other thing I can think of as to why it's just been more of a struggle for him, especially of late. Maybe also just the lack of comfortability, right? Like Mar was a guy that he was a little bit more. It seemed like a little bit more.
Yeah, at the end of the day, man, that second goal that Orlando got was a gift to them, really. Yeah. It was a terrible play by Walks. Hell, he even came out on Twitter and apologized, right? So, and then Kalina makes the save. It falls at the feet of their players, and it's a second goal, right? It's just all you had to do was step in front of it.
I do want to touch on Vargas, though. What do we make of Vargas' 2 starts so far? To me, it's pretty evident that going forward, he's a good player. But you know what? Like, defending and some of his passing is very, very questionable. And so, obviously, he's just a raw talent now. But you can tell, and even Latanzio talked about it in the press conference, it's a player that he's gonna have to mold more and more.
Yeah, I think it goes back to sort of like what happened after the LAFC loss, and how we discussed like potentially like just seeing more of the like what else the roster has to offer. And I think like that's a big part of like the Jan. Obviously the Jan move also switch was out of need because Guzman got hurt, but I think also it's just like we're running on towards the end of the season, and we need to see what some of these guys can do. So whether or not Vargas I don't think Vargas will start the rest of the way, whereas I think Jan absolutely is probably a right-in starter for the rest of the season. But we got to see what Vargas is capable of, right? If we go into year 2 without having seen him play more than the 20 or 30 minutes that he got, that would have been like, to have both of the U22 players that we signed to have gone with no minutes for the entire first season, I think would be a real detriment. So I think whether or not we continue to see him start is just like, we've got to see at least some information on what he's capable of.
Yeah, I do, however, think, Jan's played well, but I think based on the impressions I get from Malanda, I think he's somebody that he might slot in there, to pair him up with Walks, so maybe like sacrifice Jan, right, to see what he's got, because someone mentioned it too, like Jan doesn't really have the pace that Malanda would, right?
I think Jan's solid, man. He's like the old style center back, right? He just goes in hard, does the work, and clears the ball, right? His diagonal passes for sure are on point most of the time. Maybe Walks is the one that gets dropped, especially after that blunder on Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
That would be wild if they went with a Jan Malanda defensive back pair by the end of the season.
Got a nice ring to it there, right?
Yeah.
What do we make of the refs?
I'm tired of we can't keep blaming the refs, right? Yeah. We should take the refs out of the game and play our damn game, Guzman, man. So take that ref crap out of here.
Yeah, that sounds like something that Chelsea fans would complain about, to be real.
That's hilarious.
Pull my hair.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where, I think that's exactly right. Like, yeah, refs can miss calls, but they're going to miss calls in every game ever in any league.
I've come to the conclusion that MLS refs suck.
Yeah.
Right. And you just that's just a part of the game, man. And you're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think he made a call where you're like, the very first one, that penalty that they gave DC on Brandt. Yes, that was like, all right, that was obvious. You know what I'm saying? But stuff that could go either way, or that you just say, man, that should have been like our corner and they missed it. Like stuff like that happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there's a difference, right? Because there's a difference. Like those are like really pivotal moments, like a penalty. It's gone to VAR. All this stuff has happened, and then they make a decision, which pretty much decides a goal, essentially, right? Where I don't think any of those calls. I mean, there wasn't a red card involved or anything like that, or even really like that many yellow cards that were given that were egregious that would have altered the way we defended or anything like that. They were just sort of like some calls that were kind of missed, and like Fuchs played them onside, so. I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, could the refs be better? Sure, but I think more than anything, we didn't show up at home the way we're supposed to.
Yeah, and Alan, we're not bashing the refs per se, right? I mean, my thing is, like, you know, I've watched a couple, like the Montreal game the other day, man. There was a clear dive. It went to VAR. I mean, and the ref went over there to look at it too, and he still gave the penalty. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's like they're scared to go against the decision they made because they don't want to like have some sort of, what am I trying to say? They like some, I forget what I'm trying to say. It just went poof, brain cell gone. That's it. I'm done, guys. You never see me.
Yeah, you're having a little brain fart like I am. Sorry, that's my fault.
No. I was just trying to say, like, you know, like it should be, the ref should feel okay overturning their own calls and not feel like it's going to be played against
the world. Yeah. What's up with Vinicius? Are we going to see him play? Bro, I don't even think Vinicius knows. I mean, all I can tell you is he's still not at training, right? So if he's still not at training, he still's got a way to go. So I remember he told me when I saw him, I was like, how long you got left? 2 weeks, he said. And then, I mean, it's been 7 weeks since he told me that.
Yeah, that was back in March.
So that lets you know.
FIFA's out, right? So you could always play that and put him in.
Right, 100%. Awesome. And then I do want to touch a little bit on Nuno Santos and Nate. So from what I could tell today, both of the players were not at practice, right? Which is a very good sign, meaning that they're back in their home countries, right? Finalizing their visas. So I think potentially we could maybe see Nuno and Burn this weekend, right? But having said that, also, if they do make it in time, it's also going to depend on whether they get training sessions in or not, right? So it's one thing for them to get their visa. It's another thing for them to be part of the training. If they're not part of the training, I highly doubt that we'll see them. And if we do, I mean, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes max, you know? So I wanted to address that before we continue. Anything you guys want to add on that?
I mean, the sooner we can get Nuno fit and out there, the better.
Yeah. Which honestly, too, I feel like out of the players that we've got, the one with the pressure is going to be Nuno because honestly,
the whole city's counting on him, man.
Yeah, right. We need him to produce ASAP for us to be able to do anything, right? And I think that's a lot to ask, you know, a player to come in and make an instant impact. But at the same time, bro, that's why you're brought in here, right? Yeah. That's why, you know, like the midfield that we have, you should be able to slot in there and improve it right away. So
yeah, for sure. And then that's why he would make a move like that, right? Because he wasn't getting the chance at Benfica. He was getting loaned out to like lower level Portugal clubs where like he was going to end up having to play like just like 5-3-2s all the time and playing tons of defense. Whereas like he moves to a club where he gets to actually potentially be like one of the main guys. And so like, yeah, I mean, he obviously wanted this. So, but I mean, he doesn't need, there's like 6 games left. All he needs to do is come out for a few games, show some nice passes and maybe get a goal. And then I think people will be like, hell yeah. Because I mean, it's 2023 for him, right? 2023 is the chance for Nuno to really, we just need him to get involved with the team. For me, that's where I'm at with him.
Honestly, what you mentioned in the article as well, like he's not going to be our out and out 10, right? No. Long term, right?
I don't think so.
Right now, we do need part of that creativity, and like you mentioned in that article, like he'll be more of an 8, and I can see him in that role as well.
Yeah, so, I just want to give a shout out to the shipping department. We love the shipping department. Can't do anything without the shipping department. But you're right. Yes, it would. It's going to be interesting to see what Nuno does and the pressure that's going to be put on him.
Nice. Awesome. And then heading to Mr. Shinyashiki, Andre Shinyashiki's contract extension, right? It looks like him and the club have come to an agreement. And from what I understand and the information that I have, it's pretty much a done deal. Charlotte FC will make an announcement in the next couple of days about getting that contract extension. Brian put out a really, really great article last week explaining the situation. And I think Charlotte FC read that and they said, you know what? Let's get Shinyashiki over the line, right? Something like that. Right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask your thoughts because people, and you can explain it again, Brian, your thoughts on Shinyashiki, but I want to hear from Lee as well and from everybody in the comment section, because I think Brian and I are in the agreement that in a 4-3-3, at our best starting 11, maybe Shinyashiki isn't the guy to start. And that's a whole nother conversation. But Lee, give us your thoughts.
I don't know. I mean, the fans are behind him, right? He's like a fan favorite.
My bad. Go ahead.
Do you need to take that? I'd say he's a fan favorite, right? I mean, he was on fire and then got dropped to the bench for whatever reason, right? I don't know the politics behind that. If it was because of contracts, right, and money costs, maybe. I don't know. I mean, what's the club doing? Are they really going to use him next year or what, right? They're just protecting their asset. We don't know, right? I mean, it's interesting that all of a sudden they've sort of made that deal happen and they still haven't been giving him playing time, even though Latanzio was saying, that he's doing well in practice and basically just giving the typical press talk, right? And so
at the same time, I don't think you extend somebody's contract without having some reassurance, and like I know one of the things.
Who are they reassuring? Him?
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you all day, man, that hey, you can play, but then you don't play.
Well, that's why you ask for the money he was asking. At the end of the day, we don't know what that came down to, but I'm sure they didn't offer him the same contract that they initially offered, right?
Based on what he said, they wouldn't have accepted that.
Exactly, right? So it was something better, right? And I don't know, say the club was signing him to resell them. The clubs that may be interested in him out of contract is very different than the club now has to pay a fee to Charlotte FC if they're looking to bring this guy on. And if that's what the club's thinking, right? Like Shinyashiki, in my opinion, got a better deal than he wanted, and he's in the city that he wants to be at. So now he doesn't have a reason to move, right? So,
I mean, does he want to be in Charlotte?
He said he liked it. He said he likes everything they've been doing here.
I have a good feeling that he does,
Yeah.
So.
I mean, at the end of the day, a player wants to play, right? I mean, that's what they want to do. It's just going to be interesting to see this fall or winter, right? What kind of moves we make and who we bring in and who we let go, and see how that team pans out. But I just feel like I hate to say it, I just think he's just going to be a depth player.
Yeah, I mean, I think Latanzio said it in the presser as well, right? They view him more centrally, like as a more central, minded player, which is what his skill set provides as well. They want pacey, speedy, creative wingers to get in 1v1 situations and create numerical advantages. And that's not really Shinyashiki's game. Shinyashiki is a center forward by nature who can play left wing, if need be, and as a flexibility piece. But like, that means straight up that he's not going to take Carroll's job. I mean, so like that's what was intriguing to me about it, was that re-signing happened because Andre in that podcast made it sound like he was both looking for more money, but also made it seem like he felt pretty confident that he should be getting substantially more playing time,
Right.
And so that's where I thought that was kind of an interesting move. But maybe also the other piece, like Jorge, like you mentioned about the whole like selling on bit, maybe this deal is somewhat like, because Andre is probably just more comforting to know you have a contract and have a deal done somewhere rather than like just going in as a free agent. Because I don't really know how consistent the free agency market is in soccer, whereas in other American sports, it's like, if you're a free agent, you're going to get a deal done. But like that doesn't seem like it's always necessarily guaranteed to happen in soccer in the same way. And so maybe he likes Charlotte, and so you better just get the deal done, and then they can figure out where things stand. Or he wants to start and actually try to compete and just see if he can actually
Which
find
is fair to him, you know, because I mean we've seen stints where like he's been the guy, right? And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that's why he's got so much of the fan base behind him, right? If we could get that consistent Shinyashiki, right? If Carroll's dip formed, I don't see why not to start him, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why he, got those minutes early on. And I think, I guess I'll shamelessly plug my article, even though it's already been, but like, I mean, other players have started to get hot, right? Other players who've been given minutes have also produced. And I think when Shinyashiki first got here, that wasn't really the case. We were getting pretty much zero production from both our wings. And like Carroll was in the midst of an 11-game goalless streak. So it was just like there were no
improvement too came from players that are more natural wingers, right?
Yep.
You know, Yazviak has improved the last 2 games.
Yeah, but nobody's been consistent.
Right. 100%. You're right about that as well. So.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the man was on a roll, and then he just got dropped. So just because Carroll came back, so I don't know. Maybe drop Carroll.
100%. No, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, Carroll has improved a lot.
Play 2 up top. At least try 2 up top.
I don't know, but then you're switching. I mean, I don't know. You're switching your philosophy and formation for one guy who's like not even like your DP or TAM. I don't know. That seems like a bit of a stretch, but maybe I don't know. It's hard. It's hard, right? It's
on the game, right? Like, I mean, against LAFC, that lineup we played. I mean, we definitely should have been a little bit more conservative, right? We saw the effects of that with a 5-0 loss. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, Carroll does a lot of. I see Daniel's. The comment there about Carroll, the off the ball movement. Yeah, he's doing the work off the ball. He's just not getting any service to have a chance to really score, right?
And that pass he had to Vargas was it just a dime? That switch of play at the end of the first half was also
that was beautiful.
Ridiculous ball.
Even when he set up Bronico last week,
yeah,
too.
Unbelievable.
You can see the talents there. It's just
that's what I said. Like in terms of like. Just natural technical ability. So Swiderski's probably our best player.
Oh, for sure.
In terms of that, right? You know, now does he drop back too much? Does he one of the things I don't personally like about him is like sometimes he's at a level 12 in terms of like the intensity. I'm like, bro, you need to calm down, right? You know, arguing with everybody, like stuff like that doesn't really help you, right? Bring that 12 to an 8, my guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think that's another reason why we need to have kind of like more pacey wingers that run in behind, and which is another reason why Shinyashiki doesn't necessarily fit, is because how often Carroll drops deep, which then if like we don't have a Gaines who's willing to look for those runs in behind, like that defensive line can just continue to creep up because Gaines is going to continue to back off that line trying to find passes deep, and then we lose control of wherever the line happens to be in terms of where the action happens at that back line. So I think that's another reason for like specifically why Shinyashiki is harder to find him that time on the wings, is because if Carroll and him are both on there, you've got nobody really pushing that back line back.
Okay. Yeah. 100%. Wow. That's a good point, man. Swiderski has 8 goals this season while playing in a team with no natural 10, right? That's a great point.
And 3 assists. He has 3 assists too. So, and it's starting to happen a little bit. You can see a little bit more of. I mean, Gaines had like some of the expected goals, and he was in dangerous areas a lot. And now what's happening is you're starting to see a little bit more of the final product for him, right? I mean, he's been involved in 3 of the last 4 goals that they've been scored for the team, and then he's had at least a goal and assist in like his last 3 starts, I think it was. I mean, because he came off the bench in LAFC when they didn't score. And so, like, it's starting to happen for him a little bit, slowly but surely. My one concern really is, like, I mean, why is Reyna hitting the bench again at this point? You know, because he also
Go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, well, I guess we're like
one of the questions as well. And I think, I mean, the only reasoning I can come behind is maybe just Reyna doesn't provide the defensive duties.
Yeah.
Maybe a Camille or a Gaines can provide, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't think Vargas either can provide that. But he wanted to give him a chance, right? Yeah. But because especially if we're going to play Fuchs at the left back, right, he's going to need as much extra help as he can get.
Yeah.
right? So that's another thing. Why weren't we playing Mora more? You know what I'm saying? Mora's been a really good, decent, consistent player for us. You know, at the beginning he was a little rocky, but then after that, like I've seen pretty solid.
He's been pretty solid, man.
Yeah. He's probably been our best tackler in 1v1 situations, maybe out of anybody besides maybe Carujo, but like 1v1 on the outside wing, I feel like he's been even when he wasn't like getting passes going or like he would be caught out of position. I feel like when he was stuck one-on-one with a winger, he would still put in tackles pretty regularly. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of surprised to see him get switched out for Foose, but I mean, I guess it's just again having that voice of leadership. But if we're gonna have that voice of leadership, it's got to show up and get this team over the line in home situations like this last one, right? Whereas like
2 home losses in a row, man.
Yeah. And so something has to change in there to like make sure they do not come out flat. They do not have such a low back line.
This was an interesting point. This is an interesting point that Latanzio brought up that I want your thoughts on and everybody in the comments section. Because he said, and I think this was a criticism towards his players, right? This is how I interpreted it. It might not be true. He mentioned that, you know what, like the players love playing in front of our atmosphere so much that he feels like sometimes that cripples them to a point where, you know, like they just want to play well and not make mistakes. And instead of just playing their game and playing forward, like they end up making mistakes, right? So this is a very interesting take in terms of, you know what, could the atmosphere be hindering these players where they want to show so much that it actually like backfires on them?
I mean, what do they want us to do? Like be quiet? Well, you know, that's bull. You know, I mean, they rise up.
That's a bullshit excuse, man.
I'm saying this. He's not criticizing the fans. He's criticizing.
I know he's not, but I'm just saying, like the whole thought that the players can't play when we're not there. I mean, if that was the case, then what the hell they done against Chicago and Orlando? They sure as hell didn't show up to those games.
I'm just the messenger.
What the hell with you, Jorge?
We came out hot on that one. All right. It's not a Jorge take. It's a Latanzio take.
Yeah, but like Patrick says, man, you're a professional, right? You get paid to do this as your job and make decent money doing it. Fucking play.
Yeah,
100%.
And you want to play in front of a rambunctious, like loud home crowd that gets behind you and gets amped. Like everybody, that's like the dream for every player.
Yeah, I know, right? And so, I mean, I get that we give them that boost, like maybe in the 75th minute when they're getting tired and like we start hollering and doing what we do, you know, at the stadium, and it gives them that like second energy, right, to finish it out. But I mean, the game, like we said, the game Saturday or Sunday, I should say. I mean, it was first half was terrible and the second half wasn't much better. I mean, what do you want us to do?
Yeah, and that's why I feel like, especially at home, I mean, on the road, if they come out slow or keep it tighter and really like try to keep the scoreline tight on the road, I'm fine with that because their legs are going to get heavier on the road and there's not going to be that crowd to help get them over the line in those situations. And so conserving energy or playing tighter on the road, I'm totally cool with. But at home, you have the crowd to get you over the line. And so coming out of the gate hot is just should be standard. And when they don't come out of the gate hot in those 50, I mean, we should almost, I feel like because it's been one of their most successful routes to victory, but like, I think the home crowd should almost get amped and expecting like that goal in the first 15 minutes. Not saying it's going to happen every time, but like that at home, because of how quickly they should be coming out of the gate is like, that's kind of like, we're getting a goal in the first 15 minutes because we're going to dominate this game. We're going to go up 1-0 and just take them down. And like, that should be kind of the standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Joshua's comment real quick about Jaws 1 assist, Lee 0. I mean, I show up every game, you know, this man shows up one game and gets across it and Gaines just happens to throw his head on it. So there's congratulations to Gaines, but I know I've been kind of busting his ass recently, man, but he definitely played well. He was a standout player for me this weekend.
Yeah, man, I think he played well too. And I mean, honestly, I don't know what Latanzio's message was or how he was trying to cater that, but like you're right, like I don't think it's taken in a very like positive context. You know what I'm saying? I get what he's saying, right? But I'm like, Okay,
I
like
think what happened is he was speaking in Italian, and we had a Spanish-speaking person trying to translate it to English, and basically he's, it just totally got diluted by Google Translate.
right,
Yeah.
something like that. Okay, some spicy questions before we get into Toronto. Who is your MVP, Kalina or Bronico? Mine is still Corujo.
I mean, I'm going with Veronica.
I would go Bronico second.
Yeah, I was leaning with Guzman until the injury, but like I feel like it's got to be somebody who's played though.
Yeah.
Oh,
you can also see how
the lack of him not playing shows you exactly why he's MVP.
Yeah, but
that was my other.
Doing it, man. The mayor of Charlotte, man, make it happen. Get out the vote, people.
Yeah, I think it's a flop between the two.
Caruso, for real, Guzman would have been my pick. I mean, we've talked about this all season, Jorge. Right? He would have been my pick, but yeah, Bronico for sure, man, gets it now.
Yeah,
100%. All right, and then another question: what do we think Nuno Santos can bring to the team? Obviously, what we've been lacking mostly, which is that creativity piece. Somebody
wearing a number 10 shirt.
Well, he's going to wear the 6. It looks like,
Is he going to wear the 6?
Yeah. I mean, this is based off what he was wearing in training. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to bring a lot. I think he can bring more intensity and physicality, right? That sometimes is missing from McNeil and Bender, especially just like in terms of like catching up to like the quickness of the game and the physicality of the game. Santos is going to be able. He's not going to like be afraid of the physicality of the league, or he shouldn't be. If he is, then but he has. I mean, from all the tape I've seen, like he's willing to dig in deep and make challenges and be challenged and find ways to keep the ball. And so I think that will be a big help. And then also just driving forward. He's willing to take the ball, especially in counters, and just drive forward with it. And just like, I think the other thing that we're lacking, we don't have anybody who's just confidently like, give me the ball and I'm going to just take it up the field. And then we're going to figure out how to go from there. And like, I think that's what also Nuno
Gaines will do that, right? But I mean, he gets going and nobody can keep up with him.
Yeah. Well, but the other thing with Gaines, though, in his position, though, he's on the right wing, so you still need that somebody to connect with him. Whereas Nuno can get the ball deep. Like, I think a really good example of that is like Carlos Gil. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't compare the two player-wise, but like Carlos Gil, even if like he's desperate to get the ball and he'll drive as deep as he has to find a way to get it. Hands on the ball. Same with Carroll. Carroll does the same thing, right? He's just like, I have to be involved in the play. If you don't involve me in the play, I'm going to go find myself a way to involve myself in the play. And I think Nuno will do that and then be able to drive the ball up and get it to then Gaines. I think honestly, Nuno should be looking at a player like Gaines and be like, oh, I can like feed him all day. And so hopefully that even helps him more.
We can cross it.
Yeah, I mean, well, Gaines he's
I'm sorry. I'm just, I fell back into old habits there.
I mean, Gaines has been a roller coaster ride, right? There's so many times throughout the season we're like, man, this might be the corner, and then it's been back and forth. But like right now, it's definitely been the highest peak on this roller coaster.
Right.
Congratulations, Gaines. I'm happy for you, man. You were my man in the match.
Yeah. And then any thoughts on Jaws? He came out better and saw flashes of his potential last game. We have the last 2 games, but I need him to show it more the remainder of the season, right? I mean, at the end of the day, he's on a DP contract, and he has to be a guy. If we're saying that Shinyashiki shouldn't start, right, or that's kind of our thoughts in terms of how we play, then Jozwiak, you need to step up, my guy, and show why you have the ceiling that you have, why you're the DP, because if you're not going to consistently show it, throw my man Andre in there from the 11 from the get-go.
I just think some of these players need to bulk up a little bit too, man. They're easily pushed off the ball, and I don't know.
No.
So much I could
go
on about that, but yeah. Yes, Top Bin 90 article. Read it.
Yeah, I think with Camille, it's just
contract. Go ahead.
I think we should probably keep him coming. I mean, just based on what we've seen the last couple of games, I don't mind him kind of coming off the bench for a little bit, or maybe even just the rest of the season, and then like kind of reevaluate going into next year. Just because those 30 minutes he's provided the last 2 games, I mean, he helped get that second goal in against NYCFC, by like holding the ball up and getting the rest of the play to catch up on the long ball, and then like in this last game getting that. I mean, The one thing that I feel like he has been struggling with the most has been crossing, which has been most of our wingers. But like that ball was just really, really good, and he's been
fair to him though, right? I mean, he came in off of an injury, right? He didn't play much before that, right? Because he was injured.
Yep.
Then he comes in, and then it was the World Cup qualifiers or the whatever it was, right? Going the Nations League, whatever going on. So then he leaves again, and then he comes. So he hasn't really had a chance to just settle and like focus on Charlotte. And again, it's not an excuse, but it's a solid reason.
100%. And that's why I've kind of given him a leeway to a degree, right?
Yeah.
But now that you're showing stints of what you can do, my guy, it's do or die for you in terms of I think he has a very high ceiling, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
But if he doesn't prove it, then you know what, like, all right, what are we expecting, right? If you're a DP, in my opinion, Carroll has shown enough to me to say, okay, this is a DP striker that we need, right? Obviously,
yes.
I think next season he'll be even better than this season,
yeah.
and which in this season he already has 8 goals and 3 assists, right? Which is okay numbers for a DP. But you also have to take into account new league, a whole new team, no creative player through the whole season. So if you add all those factors, in my opinion, Swiderski has played well for most of it, right?
Yeah. And I think with Jasiak, the other thing is, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see throughout the course of next season as well, right? I mean, I think really the end of 2023 is whether we not. I mean, and we set it up. I mean, and that comes back to that roster flexibility, right? I'm pretty sure we've set it up so that we can buy him out of a DP contract if we have to,
right.
And sign another DP. So and that comes back to a lot of that roster flexibility. They tried to buy low on some guys and see kind of what actually will end up fitting, and then but allowing that flexibility to then not tie them down to too many players. And so, I mean, if it comes out he's not actually a DP, right? I mean, they're going to be able to get out of that situation, but you definitely want to give him enough time. I mean, because, at this point, there's no sell-on value, right? I mean,
it's like I'm reading something like DPs can't be role players, have to be stars. I mean, look at Atlanta. They spent all kinds of money on players, man, like big chunks of change. And, I mean, they're below us.
Yeah, and I mean, and a lot of their DPs have not panned out, and they did when they were spending big money like that back when Tata was the coach. And I think, and they haven't really settled since. I mean, they came out with and there's been a lot of situations like that. I feel like the big money spending in the MLS is just starting to actually become more effective now because you're getting guys like Cucho. But before that, almost no players that were signed for over 10 million were really actually panning out. And that's different than their contracts, right? So like Bernadeschi and Insigne, but I'm pretty sure they were on a free, like they were free transfers. They just signed huge contracts. But
I mean, even when Nick was around, right, he basically said, we're not going to go out and buy that $20-30 million player, right? We're going to get some young talents got potential and sell on it. And that seems to be the business model. I mean, to me, I think to judge Charlotte, it's going to be a year from now, right? And see how we done, right? Obviously, it's a project right now, right? We're putting the pieces together, figuring what doesn't fit.
And that's why, like sometimes we're at fault as this as well. I mean, fans, especially, listen, y'all in these wild takes on Facebook, y'all make me laugh, right? But like, you have to take into consideration all things, right? When we're like slating a player or when we're praising a player, like, people were in love with Ben Bender at the beginning of the season, and I'm like, yo, give the guy time. He's proven that he's been a little inconsistent because he's a rookie, right? Right. So give him time. Brandt has shown, right, he's a great player. He still gets stick to. Swiderski has shown signs, The one that I agreed with the whole fan base in terms of was Jasiak that wasn't producing. I understood to a degree, and now he's showing signs, but I need to see more consistency out of that as well. So you have to take into effect, right, whole new season with 20 plus players, right, a coaching change in the middle of that season, and we're still a team, although it doesn't seem likely, that could still make the playoffs, right? That's more than you can say, like, of Austin last year, who were second to last and pretty much had no hope by this time this season.
See, and Patrick, I kind of disagree with you about spending the damn money. I mean, money's not going to fix it, right? It's going to be a player that's going to be available, a player that wants to come to Charlotte, a player that, that's going to fit our system, a player that we need. It's just I just don't think money is the answer to all of it, right?
Yeah, I don't, but I do agree with. I mean, like if we put up, like we're not, in my opinion, I don't see Charlotte putting up a $10 million, $15 million offer for one quality player, right?
Nope.
Right, and that's where you can kind of criticize, like, okay, well, if LAFC is bringing freaking the Galacticos of MLS to their team, right? If Columbus is spending on a guy like Cucho, if Toronto's bringing the caliber of Insigne and Bernardeschi to the team, we should be able to put up a 10, 12, 15 million offer for somebody that can come and make a big impact. And that's something I think what will be really, really telling of whether how cheap or how much this club is willing to spend will be next transfer window.
Yeah, but I mean, Bell didn't come over as a DP anyways, right? So at least for this season.
Right, but you know what? They were able to pull a player like that, right?
That also has to do with location of the city too, right? I mean,
hold on, but Cucho came here. I'm almost certain he didn't even know where Columbus was, right?
Yeah.
So if you can't bring them because of the city, you definitely have to bag up, right? So Charlotte's not going to bring them because of Charlotte, so they definitely got to put the bag up, right?
There's a couple of situations with both of those, right? So first, I think with LA and another good example is NYCFC, while they also are willing to spend big in certain situations, what they also have done really well, and I think what goes completely unnoticed with both LA and New York specifically, even though NYCFC is like the city group team, they both have done a really good job of finding U22s, like the young players that they're bringing up, and then around that, they find the other players to kind of finish the pieces. But Bale came in after they'd already gotten Mamadou Fall, Cifuentes, right? Brian Rodriguez. I mean, I can go on and on. They have so many good young players that they've brought up, and I think NYCFC is in kind of a similar boat. Like Tati Castellanos was not a DP signing. He was a guy they just found and discovered, and then he became what he is now, which is, was the best player in MLS. And so I think, and those situations take some time, right? New York wasn't where I don't even think New York thought they were going to be where they were at this year going into last season, but then they had a great playoff run, and then they realized, we're ahead of where we thought we were going to be at this point. And with Columbus, even though it's it's a strange market for the majority of American sports, for MLS, it's just been like a founding club, right? I mean, they've been around, and so they also have experienced people who've been around, right? But that's one of the reasons what Tom went, So they have a even though like Columbus is a really random city in terms of the U.S., like for a big club like that. I mean, they've been around they've established themselves, I'd say, in a lot of ways similar to like an FC Dallas kind of has in some ways and things like that. And so and those are just the things that Charlotte
the thing I would disagree with you would be, as important as that is from the perception of MLS, Colombian player doesn't care about that. You know what I'm saying? An American player might, you know what I'm saying? But like I mean, like somebody said, Cucho knew Colombia. He didn't know Columbus, right? But if you're going to put 10, 12, 15 million down to bring a player on and bring him here, that's another story, right?
Yeah, and I mean, even Don says, right? I mean, even the turf probably turns off a couple of players too, right?
Too. I mean, so yeah. All right, wow, this show's gone really, really quickly. Let's talk a little bit about Toronto. The last time we played Toronto, we got absolutely clapped, 4-0 away. A disastrous game. Up there with LAFC is probably one of our worst games of the season. After that, Toronto hasn't really been so dominating. I think they've won 2 games, right? And they just come out of a loss against Inter Miami, right? I mean, obviously from now, we've got 7 games left. Charlotte have to take a W this weekend if we even want to hope to make playoffs. So talk to me, Brian, about this game specifically. What can Charlotte do to kind of get out of this negative home spell?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think the thing with Toronto right now is that they can score goals but they're also going to concede goals. They've conceded 8 goals in their last 4 games. They're deep. So while they've made a bunch of signings, right, the Bernadeschi and Insigne, like they still concede goals. They haven't improved their defense at all. And they actually lost the center back, DP that they had, Salcedo, and he's now in Mexico again. And so, like, we should be able to put pressure on them and still put goals, in the net. So I think that's really what it's going to come down to. Can we do what we didn't do in Orlando and take it to them? Because I don't think they should go in overly concerned about, even though Insigne and Bernadeschi are they're class players, but it's still Charlotte. It's still Charlotte's house, and they should go in and be like, we can put goals in behind them and they got to go for it, right? They said 8 cup finals before the last game, so it's still 7 cup finals for them. Just go for it. Just go for it. Like, that's really what it comes down to.
You're right. We got nothing to lose. I just fear that, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of pressure, self-pressure. It's like we don't know who's really going to score, who's going to step up, take the ball, right? Do we come out with the same formation that we had last week? Do we kind of change it up? Like, it's consistently changing. That's the only consistent thing we have is change in this team lately, man. And it's like we just need to settle. And I think it's just too little too late. So I hate to say it, but I don't think we're going to win this weekend.
Italians versus Poland.
Yeah.
Polish players. That's 100% right. We got 3 Poles in our team. How many Italians? 3, right? Toronto has 3 as well, right?
They have, Bernadette. They signed a 3rd one, I think, before they signed Insigne and Bernadeschi. And I think they were thinking about a 4th one as well, but I can't recall.
Little Italy FC there, and we're Little Poland FC. So, but yeah, and I mean, like Brian said, like, we need to go in there. Like, you can tell in the first 5-10 minutes, in my opinion, how Charlotte will do now, right? If we see that intensity from the get-go, right, at home, I feel good about the games. If we don't, like, I'm like, it's going to probably be a tough night tonight, right? And we've seen that. And the crazy thing is, like, we don't tie at home. We either lose or win, right? We have had no draws at home.
We've had 2 all season.
Yeah, we've had 2 all season and 0 at home. Right.
Which kind of helps us in the way that MLS does the deciding factor, right? So the wins is definitely going to help us, at least how it stands now. But if we don't win this weekend, man, I think the playoff is done.
I mean, it's borderline done. A loss this weekend is like just putting.
I don't see us walking away with anything but a draw this weekend.
Oh, I think they can totally. I think Toronto's definitely. I mean, since they've made the new signings, I mean, it's been 6 games. They've only lost 1, but like, I mean, they look good at times, and they look like still like near the bottom of the table team at times too, right? I mean, they score goals, but they give up goals, and I think I don't see why I mean, Charlotte has been able to face up against good teams at home. It's just whether or not they do, right? And it's up to them. It's up to them. Like, it's a mentality. I think it comes down to mentality at this point. They definitely can't be thinking that BS that Latanzio was saying about, like, well, sometimes they want to please the home fans so much. It's like, no, now it's just time. Now it's time
to by winning. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only way to please us, right? And they know that, and they know that. So I think that's what it really. I think we will. Like, I think that was a good point you made, Lee, in terms of like the lineup. I think they will. Because I think the one pattern I've noticed from Latanzio is, like, when he gets a win, he likes to stick with that lineup, regardless if it's like a midweek game or not. And then, like, once the wheels kind of fall off from that lineup, he kind of then makes another adjustment. So I'd imagine, yeah. So like he'll like win, and like, oh, this might be it, and then they lose, and then he does it again. And so I bet you we see 2 to 3 changes at least, just in somewhere. I mean, it'll still be 4-3-3. I mean, I would be
surprised if Jaws doesn't start. I would be surprised if he doesn't start.
Yeah, I think he might. I mean, he easily could. I mean, just based on his 2 last sub performances, he could easily slide back into the left wing role. I'd imagine Gaines is going to start in the right wing almost for sure, just because of his recent form. And then, I mean, Carroll. So I think I would bet that would be the front 3, in my opinion, at this point.
The question is if Jones starts, right?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't. I don't feel like he looked super good, but I did honestly not mind Bronico playing a little further up.
Yeah,
so I didn't hate that. But
so I mean, it's not a necessity though.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like almost Bronico. Like, we also like play. I was talking to Jorge about this after the game. Like, we had 3 6s. He
Yeah.
had 3 sixes out there, and it was just like, yeah, what the hell?
That's a
Like,
sign.
yeah.
I mean, we didn't create some.
Yeah.
Put 2 and 2 together, right?
Yep.
He was top 10 90.
We'll end it with everybody's favorite thing to do, score predictions, right? And I want to hear from everybody in the comments section, your positivity for this game. And I'll start off with Mr. Positive himself, Lee Hannibal.
I'm going to positively say that it's going to be a hot one. There might be some dehydration hangovers the next day, but I'm going with 1-1.
1-1. Who scores your goal?
Veronica.
What up, Bronny, bro? He was close this weekend, too.
Yeah, it was really close. And we're going to vote him in for Mayor of Charlotte. Just pencil him in if he doesn't have his own team pushing for him to get elected.
Yeah, you saw his wiki page has already been changed. So.
Yeah. And plus he's got the that thing Sunday too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Brian?
I'm expecting a really like chaotic game. It's going to be extremely just it might be I'm thinking it could be one of the more fun games to watch all season, just in terms of it's just going to be I think there's going to be a lot of goals. I think it could
4 or something, man.
I think 5 or 6 goals is well within range. Just because of how Toronto's going to go forward and they're going to be able to score goals. And I really think like no holds barred, right? I think with Charlotte's just going to eventually let loose the same way they did towards the end against Orlando. But I hope they do that closer to the jump, right? And set the tone like that. And then I think what's going to happen is there could just easily be a lot of goals. And I think what?
Said nothing to lose, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think nothing to lose on Charlotte's side, and Toronto just has good attackers. And so I think, and no defenders, right? Their defenders are not that good. So I think 4-3 Charlotte.
Dang, bro, 4-3.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a wild game. I think it's going to be a really wild game. I'm thinking Carroll with the brace. I'm thinking Gaines with the goal and an assist, and Jazviak opens his account.
I think you messed up at the last one. First red card.
Oh, you thought I was on a roll until then.
Yeah, until you said, well, I mean, Fuchs has already got his red card, right? 4-2. I wouldn't, fuck it, man. I'd be happy with just the all-out, just stupid score. Like, show me a basketball score, right? You know?
Yeah.
What is it? NFL score? I don't know.
I'm kind of amongst the lines of Brian with a high score, but I think it's going to be 3-0 Charlotte. I have a very, very good feeling about this game. I feel like the boys are definitely going to be up for this one, and they're going to bring that intensity. Even though we'll be long ball FC, I definitely think we'll get 3 goals, right? And so I definitely see us winning 3-0 this weekend. Also, it'll be kind of revenge for that 4-0 away. So
Brandon's going to come in, play like Messi. And,
yo, Juan, you've been hilarious tonight. This is a good Nice. Awesome. With that, Lee, my man, where can we find you at?
We're at CLTFC Fan TV on all the socials. We dropped fan reactions from Sunday's game today. We'll be doing a live show tomorrow. We're doing a free giveaways and that kind of stuff. We're a little more relaxed over there and not so proper, I guess, as it is on the Top Bin show. But yeah, all the CLTFC Fan TV, all we ask you to do is hit the sub button and spread the word. Peace.
Brian, where can we find you at, my guy?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at BA Maurer Media. You can also find all my written articles at topbin90.com. We've got a couple that have just come out, so stay tuned. More will be revealed.
More will be revealed. Honestly, too, the Shinyashiki news is not the only news that you will hear this week.
Right.
I think. I'm pretty sure. And another thing, too, we're really close to 1,000 followers on YouTube. So if you haven't subbed, please sub. We're at 964. All our other platforms are over 1,000 followers. We just hit 4K on Twitter. And then we just need YouTube to hit 1,000. Once YouTube hits 1,000, we'll definitely not do anything anymore. No, I'm just kidding. We call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you could help us out and hit that sub button, let your friends know. If you love your mom, make sure that you sub to Top Bin 90. With that, you guys have a great night, and thank you for joining another episode of MLS Corner. Yeah.